low are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle willing to go in order to appease their Netflix overlords? Will they sell out the royal family and their own reconciliation efforts in order to secure the millions they had been promised from Netflix? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany and today we're going to be talking about a report from The Sun how Harry and Meghan had apparently planned some sort of year-long reconciliation effort and how obviously the Queen's death somewhat derailed it. But as I began to think about it and just kind of saw the headlines and was reading through the articles, I started to think, you know that reconciliation effort that could take a year, which could probably take 3 months or even a shorter amount of time if Harry and Meghan apologized and everybody kind of owned up to things perhaps that they did, that it really sounded like a second or third season of their reality TV show. And I just couldn't help but wonder and think, oh my gosh, it completely sounds like Harry and Meghan are planning on doing their reconciliation while having these cameras film them and kind of doing this fly on the wall as they attempt to worm their way back into the royal family. I could be totally reading into that, but I thought it was really interesting because Harry and Meghan have been promised millions apparently by Netflix, upwards of $100 million. At this point, they've had the deal for 2 years and Netflix has seen hide nor hair of any footage, apparently, allegedly. So Harry and Meghan, they really only have one thing to play anymore, and that's their connection to the royal family. So I can completely see them utilizing their pseudo connection to the royals and their effort to kind of mend fences as a plot of their reality TV show, very much a la Keeping Up with the Sussexes. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany and on this channel we provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news. So if you guys want to subscribe, if that's something of interest to you, I would love to have you back. And then we also have a fashion channel that'll be getting ready to debut here in a week or two. And I also will do kind of reviews of television shows and movies. So again, if that's something of interest to you, feel free to subscribe, and then I'll also have a link down below to the fashion channel as well. But going back to Harry and Meghan, I feel like it's really become apparent that Harry and Meghan bring down the brand of royalty. They are pseudo-royals, they are fake royals, they are attempting to create their own court in the United States. And every time they do that, they bring down the entire brand of royalty, which not only affects their bank accounts, but it also affects the future of the monarchy and actual political institutions in the United Kingdom and elsewhere throughout Europe. Because Harry and Meghan, in their minds, it's all about them. But in the broader picture, there's much bigger implications to what they're doing. And Harry and Meghan, unfortunately, have sold their soul to Netflix. They've sold their soul to Spotify. And if Harry and Meghan have no talent to actually do anything, guess what they have to do? They have to trade on Harry's family connections in order to try and fulfill the contracts that they've set out, which apparently they're having trouble doing, clearly. I don't think there's any excuse for why it took 2 years to get a podcast together and why it's taking over 2 years to actually get something to the ground for Netflix. We have no debut date for any of their content yet. One of their projects that was initially planned, Pearl, has been scrapped. We also heard that there was going to be some sort of Invictus Games documentary. I don't know if that's part of Harry and Meghan's reality TV show because they were obviously clearly filming while Harry and Meghan were in The Hague with the Invictus Games. Or it's been rumored that the Invictus Games documentary is going to be the first season and then Harry and Meghan are going to be their romance or whatever is going to be on the second season. It remains to be seen. But if you look at this entire picture, I feel like it's incredibly serious what Harry and Meghan are doing in terms of the implication for the rest of the royals and how much this has damaged Harry's relationship with his family. And Harry and Meghan, I think, have set a low bar for themselves because they keep going lower and lower and lower about how much they're willing to promote themselves, to kind of do this Hollywood thing, this Hollywood hustle, and how at the end of the day that really degrades their brand to Netflix. So here's the report of what I think could be Season 3 of Keeping Up with the Sussexes. The Sun reports that Prince Harry and Meghan have secretly planned a year of reconciliation with the royal family, but only after their controversial memoir and Netflix series have come out, the Sun can reveal. The couple targeted a charm offensive on the Queen next year, but their carefully laid plans were scrubbed when she died last month. Again, you would think logic would dictate that a 96-year-old woman could die unexpectedly. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But apparently that escaped Harry and Meghan. That really, really escaped Harry and Meghan. But you look at all this, and they're talking about a year of reconciliation efforts. And so it's like, well, couldn't that not have started 2 years ago? Couldn't that not have started a year ago? Why all of a sudden now are you trying to do these reconciliation efforts? And I think a huge part of it is that Harry and Meghan need more content. Because guess what? The couple is boring and they're untalented. And when you are boring and untalented, and you have to carefully manage things so much that you can't do really a fly-on-the-wall series a la the Kardashians, because you cannot be that self-deprecating, basically humiliating yourself to a certain extent on the international stage. That's to a certain extent what reality people do. They market their turmoil, they market their family squabbles, they market their lives. You have to sell your soul really to be in a reality TV series. That's what you have to do. Harry and Meghan are unwilling to do part of that, which means that they are, I think, unwilling to have any negative moments shown, any disagreeable moments shown. I think everything has to be so carefully curated. It's dull as heck. It's dull as heck. And I can see them being part of the problem because I also think they're dull. But I think what they've done is they've created this scenario where everything they've done is so gosh darn boring because it's so sanitized that nobody will find it interesting. Ergo, well, we've distanced ourselves from the royals. Well, let's season 3. Grand vision. On their vision board, they say reconciliation efforts. We go to the UK, we go to a specific event. We show up unannounced at their shop prize and pull our hands out to Catherine and William and we curtsy to them. We give them the most gracious of curtsies to show the world that we are really working on reconciling. And then as with a camera in the corner that hopefully they don't notice, with microphones, we hope they really don't notice, as we try to get them back into our web so we have more content. And then ergo, I think they can create additional drama by saying, well, William said this when he perhaps didn't really say X. But I think Meghan is so consumed with manufacturing her own narrative. I could see that being a huge portion of what's happened with a reality TV show. It has to be so manufactured that it becomes ridiculous. Obviously, reality shows to a certain extent are manufactured, but there also has to be an element of truth or else the whole thing kind of falls apart. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable and really, again, you have to be willing to be humiliated to be on a reality TV show for a long time. That's what happens. If you are a classy person on a reality TV show, you generally don't last very long. That's kind of what happens. But Harry and Meghan obviously really want to get back into the good graces of the royals. And it goes against everything they've said about them. Harry and Meghan have said that one of the members of the royal family made comments about Archie's skin tone. And they made it clear that the two people who didn't do that are both dead. So you've made a huge fuss about whatever comment was made, whether or not it was made. We have two different stories about that from Harry and Meghan themselves, two different stories. So you're going to reconcile with these family members who you said this terrible thing and trying to fix all of this? Yeah, I don't think that'll probably go as well as they think it will. And at this point too, Harry and Meghan have no credibility in being able to believe that they are interacting with you through a genuine sense of wanting to communicate, chat, those sorts of things. How do we know this? Well, Harry and Meghan hid microphones while they were in New York in September last year. They very clearly made an effort to hide their microphones and to kind of hide or at least conceal somewhat their camera guy. And I mean, people did catch on, obviously, but if you're someone who's seemingly filming people without their permission, if you're recording them without their permission, people will not be happy with that. And the royal family is no fools. They've seen the coverage like everyone else. Even if I went into a meeting with Harry and Meghan, I would be nervous that, hey, are they recording me? Are they going to use it for a reality TV show and I don't know? Obviously, you would need to sign NDAs to not NDAs. You would need to sign releases to a certain extent. But you could also see how Harry and Meghan are kind of laying this groundwork of subterfuge as they're trying to get some of their appeal back to the general public. What do I mean by this? Harry and Meghan's brand has been exceptionally tarnished over the last several weeks, especially with the Queen's death. And Harry and Meghan, even though they had this idiotic plan to do it a couple years ago, it never occurred to them that they need to do this now because the Queen might be on her deathbed at a moment's notice, and bam, all of a sudden you've lost it. Harry and Meghan, I think their inroad back into the royal family to a certain extent would have been the Queen. And that they didn't do that, that they waited, that they decided not to do that, again, shows you where their priorities lie, and it's money. It's money, money, money. They have sold their souls to Netflix, and Netflix wants its due. It wants its money back. They gave you $100 million. I don't think Netflix actually gave them that amount of money, but I'm sure they have given them millions of dollars for content. And what do they have? Diddly squat. And they've been filming for over a year, at least. At least. How can you tell me that you have nothing to show after over a year for a reality TV show? Granted, editing and stuff does take time. I edit these videos. Usually it takes me a couple of hours, if I'm being honest, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5, 3, depending on how many videos and photos I need. It takes time to gather everything. Unless I have everything, sometimes not a great planner, so it takes me a while. But Harry and Meghan have people to do all the miscellaneous things for them. They need to get a product together, and they haven't been able to do that. And I think Netflix is getting more and more irritated. So what do Harry and Meghan do? They dangle this little thing. Look, we're going to reconcile with the royal family. We have a year-long plan worked out to do it. You know, if you want to reconcile with people, don't create a storyboard trying to do it. That's just a terrible way to go about family relationships. It's a really, really bad thing to do. So I think Harry and Meghan have really stuck themselves in an unfortunate situation that they can't really get out of, which is that they need something. They have to have something. So they'll trade off the royals in order to do that. And I just think that's exceptionally sad that they've descended to that level. But at the same time, I think part of it too is they're having to wait until the memoir and the Netflix thing come out. And I think Harry and Meghan, we've heard many reports that they're scrambling trying to edit things out. And what does this show us as well is that Harry and Meghan, their word doesn't mean anything because they'll take it back if they all of a sudden decide that they need to go in a different direction. Now, I think everybody to a certain extent amends what they say. That's completely fine. But I feel like Harry and Meghan have made all these very, very serious allegations, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, no, we didn't really mean that. We're gonna back that up. When the titles of their children are on the line. All of a sudden, everything they said no longer matters because there's a bigger thing they want, and that is those royal titles. And those are being dangled over their head going, yeah, we need to see what is in this Netflix deal before we say yes to anything. We're not saying yes to anything until we know what's in there. And I think Harry and Meghan are kind of desperate to try to figure out exactly what to do in this scenario because they backed themselves into a corner. They have a $15 million house, which is incredibly pricey. They mortgaged it for at least $9 or $10 million. That's a huge payment. They have a huge property that they need to maintain. They have 24-hour security that they need to maintain. I'm sure they have nannies and cooks and cleaners and all these different employees that they have to pay. And can they actually keep up with it? Can they? Or at the end of the day, I think Harry and Meghan have revealed themselves to the world to be pretty much hacks. They are talentless hacks. They trade off their royal titles. They trade off their royal connections. But at the end of the day, they really just don't stand for anything. So these reconciliation efforts, rumors that they are apparently trying to pull, all I can think of is, that's what you needed for your reality TV show, isn't it? I can totally see that. Bravo, yes. You need a whole long episode about how, it's a thread throughout the season. Let's see how we can reconcile with our relatives. Give them a call, record the call, show how kind we are. Give Kate flowers, because Meghan supposedly threw Catherine's flowers in the trash when she came over and tried to reconcile. Here's the thing, too. The royal family has attempted to reconcile. When whatever bust up at the bridesmaids thing happened, Catherine, who's an adult, because Meghan is essentially a teenager. She stopped, I think, developing maturity-wise when she was 17. Catherine came over, and even though perhaps Catherine was in the wrong, or maybe she even wasn't. I mean, most of the rumors say that she was not in the wrong in the slightest. She came over and gave Meghan flowers. Just being an adult and saying, hey, we both had a rough moment here. Let's just put this behind us. We want to be a family again. And what did Meghan do? She threw those flowers in the trash and shut the door in Catherine's face. So how are we supposed to believe, and how is the royal family supposed to believe that Harry and Meghan's reconciliation efforts are even legitimate, that they don't have an ulterior motive to them? Because pretty much everything Harry and Meghan do has an ulterior motive. And I think this Netflix reality TV series is absolutely no exception. And I think the royal family needs to tread very, very carefully here. That any overtures they might make, while they're still a couple, I would say, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, I'm sure they want to. I'm sure Charles wants to because he wants to see his grandkids. I'm sure William does because he wants to see his brother. And Catherine and Harry seemed rather close at one point. But they also, as royals, have to know that Harry and Meghan cannot be trusted and that anything they say can go right to Netflix. As Harry and Meghan sit behind in a studio somewhere, waxing on eloquently about how William didn't do that quite right. And Catherine, we gave her flowers, yet she did not give us the exact thank you card we wanted them to. So guys, anyways, let me know what you think. Do you think Reconciliation with the Royals will be the third season of Harry and Meghan's reality TV show? I really think that's the case. And do you think Netflix will really let them edit out their series or not? I think this is a huge question, and one that Harry and Meghan again look like fools for demanding that they do need to edit it. Because what does that tell me? That, well, perhaps what you said in the original either wasn't true, or that you're more interested in what you say is determined by what you need at that point. That means you'll say anything to anyone to get what you want, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Truth doesn't matter. Being authentic doesn't matter. And that's something Harry and Meghan, and I think especially Meghan, suffers with tremendously. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching. I will also put a link down below as well to Trova Trips. So I'm hoping to get a bit more surveys because I want to be able to unlock all the potential trips, and I'm looking forward to perhaps doing a trip with some of you guys in May of next year, right before the coronation. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.